What's up, everybody? It's your boy aka Big Zeke, coming at y'all with another weekly inspirational thought. I pray that you all have been doing well and that your families have been doing well. And we're going to jump right into this week's thought, which is entitled, The Battle of Sin Begins in Our Hearts and Minds. The battle of sin begins in our hearts and minds. I got a few reference scriptures that God blessed me with and a few thoughts that He also blessed me with this week. As always, the reference scriptures will be listed in the comment section below. And let's jump right into it. I'm going to be reading the NIV version of all of the reference scriptures as well. The first comes from Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23, and it reads, Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Okay. The next comes from Matthew chapter 12, verse 34, and it reads, You brood of vipers, how can you who are evil say anything good? For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. The next one comes from Proverbs 23 and 7. This is actually the King James version of this one. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee. And the last one is from Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Okay? And we're talking about the battle of sin beginning in our hearts and our minds. So you might be wondering why that thought was given to me today. Well, our battle with sin starts with what we think and what's in our hearts. And what we allow into our minds and what our hearts, it comes out on the surface in our actions and what we do. Okay? Everything we do in life, it starts with a thought. It starts with what's on the inside of us. My uncle had a saying, and I pray I don't butcher it, but he said, what's in you gonna come out. What's on the inside is going to come out. So our battle with sin and our choices with sin, it starts here. It starts here. Okay, so we're going to be going over that a little bit today. God bless me with a few thoughts, and here's the first one. Sin in our lives is mostly a choice and begins with a thought. Unfortunately, some of us are taught sin at an early age, and we don't realize that it is sin until we become older and wiser. So we have to be careful what thoughts we entertain or accept, because sinful thoughts can and will lead to sinful actions. How do I know this? Proverbs 4:23. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. And I said that at the top of the video. Our sin is a choice. And I know a lot of people would disagree with that, but before you see, sin starts with a thought. Okay? Lying. Let's say you got a situation in front of you. First thought comes to your head, okay, I can't tell the truth, so I better just lie. That lie turns into an impulse or urge. Then that urge turns into an action if you entertain it and if you let it stay there. But if you get rid of that thought, then you're not going to lie. If you get rid of that, it doesn't turn into that chain of event. If you have a thought in your head, oh, maybe I should lie about this, but then you quickly dismiss it and rebuke it and say, nah, I'm going to tell the truth. Then all of a sudden, that good thing that you're going to do that's in your heart, it's going to turn into a pulse or, it's not just for the bad things that we're talking about here. See, our battle against sin, whether we choose to do good or whether we choose to sin, it starts in the mind. And in the heart, if we have a heart that's full of goodness and a mind that's full of pure thoughts, then our actions are going to show what's in our mind and in our hearts. But if we have a sinful nature, sinful heart, and a sinful thought process, then our actions are going to show those things. But it's a choice. A lot of things that are sinful is a choice. And unfortunately, a lot of people, like I mentioned earlier, are taught certain sins at a young age when they don't know better. And so they don't learn that it is sin until later in life when they become older and wiser to it. Unfortunately. But ultimately, we choose whether we're going to sin or not. In most cases, we choose whether we're going to sin or not. So it starts in the mind. And that's why it's important, like Proverbs 4:23 said, we got to guard and protect our heart, protect our mind. Because everything we do, our actions, everything we do, it starts here. It flows from here. Okay? Point number 2. However you think is how you'll behave, speak, act, or respond. If you're a tightwad, you'll act as such. If you're mean, you'll act as such. If you're nice, you'll act as such. So with this in mind, we should be careful of what we allow inside because eventually it will come out. How do I know this? All right, Matthew 12:34. You brood of vipers, how can you who are evil, have an evil mindset, how can you who are evil say anything good? For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. And then Proverbs 23:7, for as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee. Look at the first part of that. And that's why I believe God gave me this scripture. Look at the first part. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. If in my heart I'm not a good person, then I'm not going to be a good person on the outside. If in my heart I'm a good person, then I'm going to be a good person on the outside. It starts within the heart and the mind. Excuse me. So, however we think, whatever we have in our heart, it's going to show up on the outside. It's going to come out. Matthew 12:34, if you read the King James Version, that version of it said, O generation of vipers, how can ye be evil, speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. That means what's in your heart, that's what's going to come out. What's in you going to come out. So however you choose to think, whatever thoughts you let sit there, whatever thoughts you let, whatever feelings, whatever being, foundation you let lay here, that's what's going to come out, and that's what people are going to see. Even if you try to cover it up and be deceitful, they're still going to see what's on the inside of your heart because your actions are going to line up with what's on the inside of you, with what you think. So that's why it's important that we monitor and maintain pure thoughts here and keep a pure heart as best we can. Okay? The next thought, and it's actually the final thought. The best way to make sure that we don't sin is to focus our thoughts on things that are pleasing to God. If our thought life is pleasing to God, then our actions will be also. But if our thought life is sin-filled, then our lives will be also. I just mentioned that a second ago. How do I know this? Philippians 4:8. I'm going to read the King James Version for that one. It said, finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report. If there be any virtue, any value that means, and if there be any praise, think on these things. And then Proverbs 23:7 again. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee. Why did I go back to that? Well, think about it. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. That goes with this. So if you do what Philippians 4:8 says and focus your heart on whatever is pure, whatever is honorable, whatever is noble, whatever is lovely, the things that please God, if that's what you're thinking in your heart and that's what's in your heart and your mind, your actions and your lifestyle is going to reflect that. If you think of pure and lovely and noble and honorable things, then your life is going to reflect a life of nobility, of honor, of purity. But if your heart and your mind are focused on sinful natures, on evil, on disruption, on discourse, then your lifestyle is going to reflect a lifestyle of sin, discourse, disruption, that and the other. It all starts with the thought, what's in here and what's in here. So it's very important that we pay attention to what's in here and what's in here. And some of y'all might be asking, well, how do we pay attention to that? Well, There's a couple ways you can do it, at least, and I'm telling y'all this from my own experience. Number one, when a bad thought comes in your mind, quickly pray, Father, I rebuke that thought in Jesus' name. Get rid of that thought. If you know it's evil, get rid of it. Number two, pay attention to what you're listening to in social media or on the radio, what kind of music you listen to, what kind of movies you're watching, things like that. Filter what goes into your mind and what goes into your heart. Because if you listen to a lot of garbage and nonsense and you accept it and you allow it to creep into your thoughts and into your heart, then your life is going to start to reflect the things that you accept. It's my personal opinion that a lot of the issues that we face in today's society is that people are so focused on accepting things that we know that are wrong. And by accepting them, then our lives start to reflect those wrong things. Wrongful thought processes, wrongful actions, wrongful ways of being, wrongful ways of treating each other. Society has accepted that. And then now, because people listen to it or listen to certain folks on social media or in music or in movies, and they entertain these wrong thoughts and they keep these wrong thoughts, then their lives start to reflect what they're entertaining and what they're keeping. So that's why it's important for us to guard our hearts, guard our minds against sinful thoughts, against sinful actions, against things that are not of God. Because if we don't, our lives are going to reflect sin. I don't know about y'all, but I don't want my life to reflect sin. I want my life to reflect God and what God is doing in my life and who He is in my life and who He created me to be. Am I saying that you're going to be perfect? No. We're going to make mistakes as long as we're in this fleshly body. But we got to do as best as we can. And the best way to do that is to focus on God. Keep godly thoughts. Keep a godly thought process. Keep our minds and our hearts stayed on God and on what He desires us to keep them on. Let's not focus on negative thoughts, negative actions. Keep our hearts and our minds pure from evil. And be mindful of what we're letting in. Be mindful of conversations we're listening to, music we're listening to, things we're watching in movies. Thoughts and ideas that don't line up with what God has you to do in your life. We have to be mindful of all these things. That's the best way to win the battle of sin in our lives. But remember, that battle starts here, and it starts here. That's all I got for this week. I thank y'all as always. I appreciate the love and support. I love y'all. Take care. God bless. Love one another. Remember that the battle of sin begins here and here with the thought and with the mind. So be careful what you're intaking into your thoughts and in your minds. Special shout out to all the graduates out there during this graduation season. Doesn't matter if you're graduating from college, trade school, preschool. Congratulations to all you guys, and I pray that God blesses y'all on the next endeavor or the next step or chapter that you're taking in your lives. God bless. I love y'all, and as always, be inspired.